What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bogey Proof. Got myself and Mike on the line tonight with a potential appearance from Joey coming in at some point. But it's an exciting week. It is March Madness. It is Dell Match play week. It is Sweet 16 weekend of the men's March Madness tournament, and I think the women are getting to Sweet 16 already too. So just a lot of brackets going on, bracketology, like just match play. Just it's a fun time of year to watch golf. One of the certainly more exciting tournaments of the year, and we'll get into a little bit later, kind of what makes the match play special and whatnot. But before we do that, Mike, where are you calling from, and what are you sipping on this evening?
Yeah, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Nothing special. No booze tonight. Just a grapefruit LaCroix. Iced it down a little bit. Yeah, classy LaCroix, as some say, as the French would pronounce it. But just hydrating nicely. Excited to talk bracketology here. I will say this is my favorite time of year when it comes to sports. College basketball is, I think, NFL football and college basketball, I think, are the two most outside of golf are far and away my two other favorite sports.
Mhm.
And college, men's college basketball, March Madness, watching the ladies every once in a while too, super enjoyable. And just chaos. We live for the anarchy here. So
Exactly.
the NCAA tournament is where it's at. So what about yourself, Matt?
Well, we're in West Hartford still, and the March Madness, all the college stuff got me in some big college vibes this weekend. So I threw it back to Old Faithful Busch Light. It's been a minute, but man, just all weekend, it was kind of rainy on Saturday, not that great on Sunday either. So as great as it was, we're finally getting some warm temperatures here in Connecticut, but not nice to be outside in quite yet. And that just led to a lot of time on the couch watching a lot of basketball, a lot of golf, and this, that, and the other thing. And God, the Busch Lights were calling my name. So we got the Busch Lights going. It's good to be back. It's been a minute since I've had, at least bought Busch Lights. I've probably had one or two here and there along the way, but it's good to buy a 12 pack again.
Yeah, you seem to have stepped into a time machine of sorts. I would say though, the best vessel for a Busch Light is the corn on the cob.
Oh yes, the corn cans.
The corn cans, aluminums.
Oh yeah,
that's far and away the best marketing ploy that they've put out in years, and I appreciate. Busch Light does a good job. They have the camo cans. They've done the baby blue NASCAR ones.
Yeah.
They even spice it up with the Busch Classics. Like sometimes you bought a Busch Classic thinking you got a Busch Light.
Yep.
Now they've added that little bronze gold ring to it.
Yep.
So now that less confusion. So that's good to see.
And they do the orange cans every once in a while too, when it's hunting season in the fall or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the summer is when they do those corn on the cob ones, I think, for the farmers. I think this could be totally wrong, but I think part of proceeds literally go to the Farmers Association of America or some shit.
I'm pretty
they
sure
do some good work with it too.
I think that's just a shot at Bud Light.
Could be that.
What, because so what was the whole deal? Who was Bud Light, the people that were saying no corn fructose or whatever?
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then there was an uprising in the state of Iowa. You couldn't get a Bud Light because they thought it was a shot at their economy for saying you couldn't have any fructose, corn fructose. So there's a little disagreement, tensions within the light beer market. Busch Light, not my favorite in the current moment, but was far and away my go-to choice from 18 to 21. I can tell you that.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was just being Winnick and that's what everybody drank, but every single Thursday after lunch or after practice, if we weren't 21 yet, producer Paul was, doing us a favor and we were stopping at the liquor store on the way home from practice. 630 racks of Busch Light dispersed amongst the team, one here, one there. He's bringing two back to his apartment for the weekend for his roommates. And then we'd see another 2-3 guys on the baseball team in the liquor store that day with a grocery cart full of Busch Light 30 racks for themselves too. So I don't know if it was a Winnick thing or whatever, but just a fantastic beer, and March Madness just got me in the mood this weekend. So picked up a little 12-pack and I'm enjoying myself.
This sparks a little brain thing here. Do we should poll our listeners, capture some data from the people that here at Bogey Proof. What was your go-to light beer in college? And then we can maybe, we parse it up a little bit. We figure it out by region.
I was just gonna say we gotta get some like regional data on that.
We get some regional data. We get public versus private institutions, and we really get some good information. Maybe we sell it to someone. I don't know.
There's something there. I think there's definitely something there.
All right. Well, besides this, you kicked it off this weekend. Bud Light or Busch Light, watching some golf, college basketball. Quick takes. Who are you most impressed with this weekend on the basketball court, or maybe one team that just like continues to impress you, and maybe one that jumped up at you?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious like surprise is St. Peter's, 15 in the Sweet 16. It's like the third time ever. Being Kentucky in the first round, just crazy stuff going on with St. Peter's. So that's obviously a really cool story. But the team that really grabbed my eye, and I don't watch college basketball as much as you do, so I'm by no means an expert on this, but watching Houston play against who did they beat the other night? But I don't even remember who they played. But watching them, their defense is just absolutely swarming.
They beat up on Illinois.
Guards, Illinois, yes.
Yeah.
Their guards are just so good, and just dribble total control of the ball. They don't feel pressure. They drive, they dish, they play unbelievable defense. They're so athletic that it was just and maybe it just worked out perfectly for them against Illinois, who's a little bit of a bigger team. They have that big guy down low that is just an absolute beast. And they kind of play a little bit of a slower game, so maybe it just kind of fed into Houston's hands. But Houston just jumped off the screen with they are just more athletic than than anything I've ever seen, and they do it I feel like a lot of college basketball is trending towards play defense and then have a drive and dish and just have shooters all around the outside, right? Via the NBA with the whole Steph Curry kind of boom of the last 5-10 years, or whatever, right? That's just kind of how basketball's played, because 3 points are more than 2. But they just seem to do it by we're going to play the best defense you've ever seen and ever gone against. We're going to be all up in your face for, 48 minutes, whatever it is, or 40 minutes. And just we're just going to score via layups and transition and turn you over. They're not loaded with shooters by any means, which I think is rare these days. And then they're just so fucking athletic. Again, not a big college basketball guru by any means, but of watching the games this weekend, they just stood out of the page of it just maybe because they did it a different way, but their guards were super impressive, and they just were jumping out the gym, athletic, all over you, in your face on defense, tough to play against, I think.
Did you watch any of that chaos of Baylor, North Carolina at all?
That was nuts too. Though, North Carolina. I mean, I missed the double flagrant or whatever it's called, where he got ejected. Yeah. I popped out after it got to a crazy big lead, and then I popped back in when I saw Baylor was coming back. But God, that was crazy too. The guards all over, and then RJ Davis. I don't know. College basketball always fascinates me with the way it's just so streaky, because they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're kind of forming into their own games, a lot of them, unless you have that 5th-year guard every once in a while that shows up on a team and kind of stands away. But I just love the chaos of college basketball, March Madness, where it's fast, they're running, their effort is 180% all the time, and missing a lot of open shots, but then making stupid ones. It's the best. It's just the best all around.
Yeah, no, that was chaos. I've always been a North Carolina fan, and Baylor's kind of an odd school to me. It's this culty Christian, just takeover in the city of Waco down there. So that's an odd place. Not a place I'd want to get stranded. That's all I got to say. Not because it's dangerous, but just might be a little.
What goes on out there?
Yeah. There's
the desert of Texas.
There's something in the water there, and it's not good. I would say who really caught my this Providence was not trending at the end of the year. They
They
lost some
surprised me a little too.
they
Yeah.
lost some games, and I was like betting against Providence.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, they had their run. I kind of thought they were a fraud, to be perfectly honest. And then they, go out and play well in game one, and then dominate. I'm trying to remember who they beat up in their second round game, but I mean, you got to think. I guess there's a reason why they won the Big East regular season, right?
Yeah.
So that was a piece of it. Couple disappointments for sure. St. Peter's is a cool story.
Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean,
Watch Auburn last night. Auburn,
I didn't, but
I watched that game. They were playing right along with who was it that ended up beating them? I don't even remember. Miami, I think. They were playing with them all night, and just like I think in the second half, I'd have to go back and check the numbers. Like they might have shot 15% from the field in the second half, and all of it inside the paint. Like they don't shoot a lot of threes. Like just get like having 4 possessions and or 3 offensive rebounds, 1 possession, missing all 4 layups. Like the lid had it was like had the whatever that clear
really,
wrap whatever is on it on top. Like it couldn't make a layup. It was like nuts. Like again, that's like kind of the beauty of college basketball. Like that shit happens, but they to lose that game by 10. I bet you they took 30 more shots than Miami did, and just were that bad from the field. It was painful to watch as an Auburn fan.
Miami head coach Jim Larinaga had some success at George Mason when they went on that run, when they went to the Final Four. Was head coach at American International College, AIC, Springfield, Massachusetts, for a handful of years. So connected with the Western Mass lifestyle there. Jim Larinaga, really well respected. I don't know if you watched any kind of the analysis afterwards, but all the guys on TNT were like, Jim Larinaga is my favorite coach I didn't play for.
Yeah.
Which right.
It says a lot.
It says a lot. And I think we don't get a lot of older coaches still hanging around, right? Like it's kind of unique, honestly, right? Texas Tech has an older guy. He was a community college, junior college basketball coach for like 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then took like a director of basketball operations job at Texas Tech like 7 years ago. And now is the coach, right? So a guy that's clearly can win at all different levels, but has only been a Division I head coach for like 6 or 7 years. And he's 65. Kelvin Sampson at Houston.
Yep.
NBA coach, college basketball coach for 30 years. Has been around for a while. Like we all know Mark Few, Krzyzewski, whatever. We're trying to name whatever the guys at Kansas there. Like we got Bill Self. I mean, we got coaches that have been at programs for 25 years right now. And I think it's this interesting situation. I was talking about with my grandfather the other day. Like this one and done like culture has changed college basketball in the last 15 years. Oh, yeah. But there hasn't been a lot of one and done championships. Like outside of Anthony Davis when he was at Kentucky, and maybe who beat did Ohio State win when they had Greg Oden and Mike Conley, or did they lose in the championship?
No, they lost. Yeah.
They lost to like North Carolina or something.
They lost like Tyler Hansbrough or whatever that team was or whatever. But like to your point though, in that Kentucky team, like Anthony Davis, but also like Eric Bledsoe and like I think all 5 starters were like first round draft picks that year or something stupid.
Yeah, so and like the 6th man that whatever number 33, he was a center. He was like their 6th man. He was like. Remember, he was 17th overall for Orlando or something like that. But
I think that's the outlier team for sure. And I think all the others you kind of get those 1 or 2 guys that are really the one and dones that are like they would have gone to the league probably without it. That you just like it's hard to build a team around that, and like hard to come into a team culture if you don't have a lot of one and done guys. Like fit in with that culture vibe, be able to make a run. And then like dip and then have that team sustain and be able to like fill that gap. Like it makes just a totally different element in your recruiting style and like just overall team chemistry, right? Like it's got to be weird for, again, like the third, fourth, fifth year guards that a lot of college basketball teams have. Like you got this hot shot, one and done kid coming in playing, power forward, forward guard, whatever position they're playing. And like, like you've been there putting in the hours for 3 years, and now all of a sudden, like the show revolves around him. And it's like, these kids are 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever years old. Like, it's not like they're 35 where they're getting paid and like, hey, you know what? It's business. I'll get my minutes. I'll get my points. It's like there's more emotion in college basketball now. It's what makes it great. But I think what makes the one and done part like really hard to get the right. Like you got to have like that team chemistry to make a run through March Madness after your conference tournament and all that shit. Like it's a lot. You got to be on the same page with everybody for like 2 months straight, pretty much. And it's like, it's a lot to ask for if you don't have, and that's kind of credit to like a lot of these really good coaches, right, that are able to kind of do this time and time again. They set that culture right away and are able to kind of iron out some of those things. But it's interesting. College basketball is one of those things that I think it might be next on my list. Like this year, I took a deep dive into Formula One, so that's my new sport that I've been watching like Sunday mornings. I think next year is going to be the year of like focusing on college basketball and like in that fall season, like. Because football, I burned out on football this year. Like we're going on a tangent here, but I burned out on the NFL this year. Like by the time like week 13, 14 rolled around, like I like
that extra week made a difference.
Yeah, like I was exhausted by it. Like, I mean, obviously still watched it, but like week 1 through 10, I was like glued to the TV for 12 hours a day. And then by the end of the season, I was like, I don't care, whatever. Let me know who's in the playoffs and I'll start watching again. So I think I'm gonna kind of transition that energy a little bit and like try to get college basketball and focus on that in the fall just to spread out my passion for football and make it last a little longer. And then also get a little bit more insight into this college stuff and be able to follow a little more storylines a little bit closer. Cause I think there's a lot there in college basketball.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating to your point. Final question as far as, well, to wrap up basketball here, who's getting it done of the remaining team? I mean, teams that are still in the hunt. Who's your winner? And was this the original winner on your bracket if you did a bracket?
Bracket's already toast at Auburn. So that went out last night. I think my heart, I'm gonna root for Houston, but my head says like Arizona. I think they had their scare last night with the overtime game against TCU, and that's enough of like a punch in the face to be like, hey, we got away with one kind of thing. Like, let's buckle the fuck down here and come out like. There's no more like, all right, let's ease into this. We're playing the 9 seed. We're playing the 16 seed. Like now I think that was enough of a punch in the face to be like firing all cylinders right from the tip going forward. And that kid that they have on their team, I don't remember his name, like Benedict, whatever.
Murin or whatever.
Something begins with an M. That dunk last night was one of the more ridiculous in-game dunks I've seen in a long time. Like that was rude. Like
he's probably, to your point, how athletic Houston is, he might be the bounciest guy in college basketball who still is like an elite player. Like,
yeah, and shoots the shit out of the ball too.
He's like a Zach LaVine type of like freak athlete, but a player too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I was watching like one of the pregame show analysis, whatever, and they talk a lot about how he does such a good job with how athletic he is. He also does such a great job of like setting his base when he catches the ball into like a stance where he can do whatever he wants from. Like it's a fundamental that in college, like a lot of times it gets missed, especially when guys are just more athletic than everybody on the court. They get a little sloppy with like, hey, catch the ball and like, a triple threat stance or whatever the hell it's called. Right. Like he they showed like catch, like every pass he caught in like game 1 or whatever, he catches it. Like his feet are totally square, like proper width, like, shoulder width apart, ready to either attack or go straight up with it, like, little things like that. When you combine that with the athleticism he has, like he's fun to watch. I had a lot of fun watching him in the TCU game last night because you can tell he's just waiting for the right fit from the defense or the right look from the defense, and he just attacks. And it's like super athletic. And I think they had their scare last night, and they'll buckle down and be coming out firing in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, etc. going forward. And I think they got a pretty good chance to get it done. But I'm going to be pulling for Houston the whole way too, because they're just wild to watch play basketball. It's just like raw athleticism. Like, their practices, I feel like they just roll the ball out and like battle each other, like.
Yeah, I don't know. To the point of what we're talking about, I think Villanova gets it done. I think the Big East is solid. Providence has shown, they've been really solid down the stretch, and Villanova is the number one foul shooting team in the history of college basketball.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Who
Yeah.
gets it? Who, like, at the end of the day, they have a senior in Colin Gillespie, uh,
Two-time Big East Player of the Year, I think, right?
two-time Big East, yeah, Player of the Year. A lot of guys that are probably going to play in the NBA in some capacity. Maybe not lottery picks, but Daniel Sanders, they are NBA players. You know, Jay Wright has found a little formula the last 5 years on how to win the national championship. And I just say don't overthink it. I think they're the team that I trust most in the last 5 minutes. And if we've learned anything from the first 2 weekends and how many overtime games there were and how easy it is to blow up, I just think those are the guys that get it done. I definitely trust Jay Wright. So that's kind of my take. I could easily see Gonzaga. Gonzaga's got so much talent. I mean, all over the fucking place. But yeah, that's going for me. And then related to some of these teams, let's flip it on its head a little bit. Of these 16 teams and kind of locations where we're sitting at, is there any underrated golf spots that you see in this group here? You see any? Yeah. What do you think? And don't go obvious. Don't go UNC, North Carolina, Pinehurst
Yeah.
situation.
I'm not gonna go North Carolina or Florida. I'll skip those two, Miami. But I think like, and this one might be a little obvious too, so I'll give two because like obviously like Arizona, like Tucson, like awesome climate. It's been on my list of like a place I really want to go visit for golf. And just in general, like kind of probably do more than just a weekend golf trip with that one. But I definitely want to get out to Arizona at some point. I've never been out there. That one stands out for me. And then I think like an underrated place. I mean, obviously UCLA has probably got some decent golf out in LA, but
Yeah.
a place like, let's see, like maybe Gonzaga in Washington. Like I just
Mm.
maybe it's just like the Bandon effect that I'm just like I just imagine all the golf out there is really good, but I just think that they have in Washington you just have a lot of options with the land. I think out there where it's like you're gonna have so much land to work with. I think you can put together some special stuff. So I'd be interested to kind of do a little research to see what's out there for golf. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. No,
then even a place like obviously like New Jersey has some gems in there that kind of get up near that city. I mean, obviously Pine Valley is in New Jersey, and I'm sure there's plenty of other. They're probably more on the private club side in New Jersey if they're going to be quality stuff. But I think there's a lot of good golf to be played. I mean, there's good golf to be played all over the United States, so you could probably pick any of these towns and make a case. But those are the I'll go with Tucson and Washington will stand out for me as like place I'd want to go adventure golf.
I like the Washington idea. A few hours south of Spokane, in the small town of Walla Walla, Washington. That's the place you got to spend some time right there.
Yeah.
Great wine and some really good public access golf. Um, I'm trying to remember the name. There's a golf course called Wine Valley Country Club that has hosted U.S. Open sectionals, like the second round before.
Mm-hmm.
Place looks gorgeous.
See, that's what we need.
Right, and that's it, that part of the country too, right? Like people often just stop at like Northern California wines, but that climate, right? Like that very arid kind of Northern California climate extends pretty far into Washington too. So there's tons of great vineyards in Oregon and Washington State. So I would challenge our listeners out there too to like, if you like Cabernets or kind of any mostly reds, I would say from
Yeah.
Northern California, you usually can find like a similar type in Washington or Oregon, and it might have like a slightly different taste. So maybe mess around with doing some of that. So that's high on my list. Purdue. There's not much there in Lafayette, Indiana, but they have two of the best golf courses in the state at the university. So maybe if you're passing through, not too far from Chicago, that would be a decent location. And then the one I know the least about, Ames, Iowa State. So I'd be
I was gonna say the
interested.
same about Kansas. I don't know what goes on in Lawrence, Kansas.
It's not that far from Kansas City.
Okay, they got any golf there though?
So yeah, you never know. You got to go
Yeah,
western part. Got to go western part of Kansas to get. Yeah,
yeah,
you get to like Hutchinson. Um, some of those types of places. Also, don't know anything. West Texas, Lubbock, up there
yeah,
in the northwest corner.
yeah.
I heard it's like. I met some guy playing golf one time when we were down in San Antonio, who spent some time in Lubbock. He said he'll never go back.
Interesting.
That was his response. We asked him
Interesting.
how it
Yeah,
was.
there's.
We asked him how it was. He goes, "I ain't going back. I can tell you that much."
I mean, there's definitely there's I think like the kind of the few we just said, like Texas Tech, like even Arkansas, like Iowa State, Kansas, like those might be the ones like we're gonna have to do some research before we attempt to do any golfing down there. Like make sure we have a couple, at least two courses in mind that make some sense. But other than that, there's obviously a lot of good ones in here. Like obviously Ann Arbor, like
Yeah.
the University of Michigan's golf course is pretty special from what I've heard. And it's surrounded by a lot of good stuff up there. Rhode Island's got some good courses. Obviously, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, the Dukes, the UCLA, Villanova, Philly. Like there's some good golf around there. And then Tucson's pretty obvious. In Miami, you can find some golf down in Florida anywhere. So a lot of good golf courses that sneak into our Sweet 16 here for the men's basketball March Madness tournament. But it's always
Okay.
good to kind of take that next level and get an idea of like that's the stuff I'm interested in now. Like as I get a little older, like I want to. That's like pick out some travel destinations here based on shit like this. Like now I got a couple of things I'm gonna do some research on, see if I can plan something.
Yeah, and I mean, right, and I think college athletics is special in itself, but it's very interesting. Just like look at a map and look at where Division One institutions, like if you were to throw these 16 teams on a map right now, and
Yep.
how they would be from all over the country, and every different experience would be different. Like if you go to a basketball game in each of these different places and go for a long weekend, right? Like outside of maybe Duke and North Carolina down the street from each other,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a completely different,
Yep.
2 days, or 2 days and one night, or whatever the case may be. So it's pretty fun. I think again, like I'd have to do some more research on some of these places, but outside of golf, I mean, we got big cities, so you could go drinking, you could go on a more of a food focused vacation, no problem. Um,
Oh yeah.
Cost of living in some of these random places, probably could get a pretty sweet hotel,
Yeah.
for next to nothing.
Yep.
But yeah, super fun and definitely something to think about. But let's transition to golf bracketology here. One of my favorite weeks of the year, just because it's different. I don't know. I don't think the golf is any other special. Golf course is really fun. I don't know how like great the golf course is, or truly if it's a proper or appropriate test to like choosing the best golfer that week. But it is a fun setup. Really cool topography there in Austin, this golf course. But quick thoughts on kind of Austin Country Club, maybe a couple pass notes, and then we'll kind of get into the bracket.
Yeah, I think, to your point, it's not like going to be hosting any US Opens anytime soon, right? But I think it's perfect for a match play event because it's a risk reward setup, a lot of short fours, where you can get some fireworks with guys hitting, 30, 40-yard pitch shots. Like obviously the one that comes to mind is Tigers back in 2018 when he holes out from 70 yards, right? Like you get a lot of that in weeks like this, and like it's short par fives, good par threes, and it works for match play. And the other part of why, to your point, it's one of the better weeks of the year because it's different, but it also brings out a different type of golf from these guys that you don't see on a week to week basis. Like when you play match play, and I mean, curious like your opinion and like your personal golf career on this, but like when I play match play, like I'm a much different golfer because I'm just like, and you try to find this in stroke play, but like your foot's on the gas at all times in match play, and you're also like have the like it helps your short term memory because whether you made a 14 or a 5, if you lost the hole, you're down 1. Like so for me, I've always kind of played better in match play situations just because of that. Like it's one, I only lost 1 hole. It doesn't matter. I lost by 6. If I birdie the next hole, we're even if you beat me by 7 that hole, like, and that also like, because it's that style, you have to go make a shit ton of birdies, which makes you kind of be aggressive, like right out of the gate. Like, I don't know. There's something about it brings a different style of golf out of these guys. They're not grinding it out 72 holes, have to put the ball in the hole every hole, like it can free them up to just show off a little almost like, and just like really go after, like really hit shots that in a stroke play event they would never try, right? Like I think of that short par 4 that's like, I don't know, 14, 15, whatever it is at this course that they always are hitting driver at, and they have the grandstands behind it, whatever, over water, it's a carry, right? Like if it's a stroke play event, 72 holes, they all just hit a 3-iron out to the right and hit a 130-yard wedge on that green, like, and then it's probably birdies. It's probably the easiest hole in the course that week. Everybody birdies it, but you get a match play, guys 2 down with 4 to go, and it's the right number for him. Like, yeah, maybe he tries to cut the driver and get it up to like either land on the green, and like I think only Sergio is able to hold it the way he can spin the ball and like strike his 3 woods and drivers, but a lot of other guys hit it just to kind of run it behind, and then you have like a 15-yard pitch shot versus an 80-yard wedge shot off of kind of a side hill. So it's like things like that, it brings to the forefront that's just a lot more exciting to watch, right? I think that's why it stands out for me, is that match play lets these guys hit the hero shot more often than they would in a stroke play event, 72 holes, getting the ball in the hole, whatever. And they picked a good course for it because it gives them the opportunity to do such at Austin Country Club or whatever they are in Austin. So
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite weeks of the year, and it's just a different type of golf that I appreciate watching every once in a while from these guys.
Yeah, I agree. It's fun to watch something different. I think it's interesting you say show off, because that's kind of what I was thinking too. They do things where they go after pins that they never would, and sometimes it's just like the amount of momentum these guys get when you just like pull something crazy off is insane. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you go through and you went after that pin from 225 that you normally wouldn't do. But I also think it makes people think too, right? That like very standard hole you're playing, your opponent just hit a terrible shot. Now, like, are you going to play conservative? Or are you going to put, are you going to put
Are you
your
going
foot
to
on the
change your
gas?
game plan or do whatever? Where like in a stroke play event, these guys say all the time, like they draw up their game plan Wednesday night or maybe even Tuesday night, whatever, and they try to stick to it all week, and that's how they stay in their process and stay focused and whatever. Where match play, you need to kind of be aware of what your playing opponent's doing and play to that. Like if, to your point, right, they go for these hero shots, but if your person's hit one in the water already and they're barely going to make a 4, probably a bogey, like you don't want to bring a bogey into play, so you're going to hit to the middle of the green. Like you have to do that in match play just as much as stroke play, honestly, but like you have to do that in match play because you can't give stuff away. And it's just like it's the best. I love watching. And like to your point of they try more stuff, like think about all the shots you've seen at these tournaments of them literally hitting out of a bush,
Yeah.
like Tiger hitting a lefty one on his knees one year, or like Dubuisson hitting it literally out of the middle of bushes like multiple times that week that he won. It's like 72-hole stroke play event. They're taking it unplayable because they don't want to hit it and it stay in the bush, like, and then have to do it again, right? So they're going to take it unplayable, make sure they make no more than 5 and move on, or no more than bogey and move on. Where it's like
they might not even like hit it in that bush because they didn't go after a back pin.
yeah,
Right.
exactly,
Like,
right.
so I think that's a piece of it too. I don't know. Personally, I think I've always thought that match play, it's different. 4 ball is different when you have a partner.
Partners are nice too.
That's a much appreciated. But I've always struggled a little bit match play. I haven't played a ton of match play, but I've always struggled a little bit because I feel like sometimes you get a little out of sync, and whether it be because you're struggling and you're picking up for 5, right? And your partner's already made par, or you're playing, your opponent's out of the hole. So like it's irrelevant what you do. So you didn't grind
Yeah.
on that, 4-foot par putt or something like that. And I've always felt like I gathered momentum in stroke play by just kind of, continuing to work and hitting greens, getting like, getting up and down, making putts and building momentum in that sense. And I think it's very easy in match play, especially when you kind of got it going from a ball striking perspective, to just like hit a bunch of greens and just like miss a million birdie putts out there. In stroke play, like it's like, oh well, great, like I'm even par. Like if you have some perspective, like that's pretty good, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I think sometimes in match play, and your partner could be all over the place and making pars or tying you on holes, and that can be difficult mentally, um, because you're playing that other person, not yourself. So you kind of got to play that game a little bit, and it's difficult to get past that mental barrier of like, well, I feel like my game's pretty good right now, but I'm down.
Yeah.
Um, so that's always tough too. And I mean, I like playing. I think it's easier to play. I would urge, our listeners out there that are getting into the game or still relatively new to the game. Match play is easier to take. It's easier just to play against your buddies, whether it be a 4-ball match or if you just got 2 of you out there. You know, keep track of score sometimes, but it's okay to go out there and play match play and pick it up if the other guy's in the hole and not have to worry about it as well.
It makes it a lot more fun, and also like when every hole's match play, like it puts a little pressure on you throughout the day versus like if you're playing stroke play against your buddy until the last 2 or 3 holes, like you kind of have the same mindset all day, right? Like you're just trying to make a million pars one way or the other, right? Or best score on the hole. And then at the end, it's like, okay, this one's to win the match. Or, if I hit this fairway, I'm good to go. Where like every hole is like that when you're playing match play. It's like, okay, he just 2 putted for bogey. I have an 8-footer for par. This is to win the hole. Like if I miss it, doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a little bit more. I feel like you hit more shots that matter. I mean, they all matter in stroke play, obviously, but like it's a different mindset wise. I think they're like a lot more times where you're standing over as a must make when it's match
Mhm.
play versus stroke play. Nothing's a must make until like those last 2 holes or whatever. When it gets to like, okay, I'm up 3 with 3 to go. I don't want to make a bogey on the way in or whatever. So it's like when you're match play, I just think you have more like I must make. All right, I need to hit this green with this on this par 3 because he just missed it. Like, and it kind of puts you under the gun a little bit, and you get a
Yeah.
little bit more like of that like immediate feedback on how your golf game is. Like we talked a little bit about it last week with the players talk. Like, you throw water all around the green, all of a sudden everybody grips it a little tighter. Like you make it match play, and your partner or your opponent just hit it on the green. Like, what are you going to do now? Like, you got to answer that, or you got to hope he misses a putt, which you never want to think that way in match play because it's like bad mindset stuff. But like, I just love match. There's like a beauty to match play that I think we see it in the Ryder Cup too. Again, it's different with 4 balls and stuff like that, but like, there's just an art to it of like the momentum swings and like the people play better when it's match play. They're freed up, they make more putts. It's like whatever it is, like there's something to it that just adds an extra element that is so fun to watch. That to kind of go back to the beginning of the Dell Match play talk, like PJ Tour, and we said it last year and probably the year before, and we'll say it again next year. Like, got to find a way to do something similar to this, like one more time in the year. I don't think you want to do it 12 times because then it doesn't matter. But like, I think 2 of them is like probably a good balance, especially when it's a non-Ryder Cup year. And I know we have the President's Cup still, but like, I don't know, like we can still do a little bit more with this. And again, I know the WGC helps to make it a smaller field or whatever, and maybe you just do it. Maybe just do it as like I don't know how to say opposite field event because then everybody's just gonna watch the major or whatever the main event is. But there's got to be a way you could do like even if it's like a fall series thing, you pick like instead of like the CJ Cup, right? Like that's probably the biggest one that the guys go out and play in the fall, or at least gets the biggest names out of the fall series. Make that one a match play. I don't know. There's got to be a way to get a tournament like this in here more than once because I don't think anybody's ever said a bad thing about the match play. Like The winners are kind of sporadic just because match play you ride a hot hand one weekend and you can win, but it's always fun to watch. It's always more entertaining, I feel like. I don't know. That's my opinion. I don't know the logistics of getting it in here one more time. I know the WGC makes it a lot easier having it a limited field event, but there's got to be another way to get one more of these puppies on the schedule every year just to get the excitement of match play more frequent on the PGA Tour.
Or like, I mean, you make it like the, maybe Tiger's event is a match play, right? And you get
the hero,
right, and you get
30 guys,
30 guys, or something like that, and right, and you play. I don't know how you do it, but something like that. I agree. I think somewhere else is needed, and I don't know if it's strictly a match play. I don't know if it's a team event or something like that, but we need something else a little bit different for sure. But moving to the bracket a little bit, we're not going to go through the whole thing. That'd be insane. No one wants to listen to that. Give me a pod. We'll use a little Ryder Cup lingo there. Give me a pod, a 4-person group that you are looking at, increasingly as the week goes on. What's kind of catching your eye?
Yeah, and I think I'm probably gonna be stealing your answer to this one here, but the pod or group, whatever you want to call it, of JT, Luke List, Kevin Kisner, Mark Leishman, like, my goodness, like, I think at least Kiz, Leash, and JT, like, you put them in any other group, I'm probably picking them to win. JT's probably the best player in the world right now, at least in the last month, we'll call it, just to be fair to Colin Morikawa, John Rahm, and Hovland. Like, those guys are no slouches themselves lately, but JT just seems to be in complete control of his golf ball and just kind of waiting to put 4 rounds of it together. It seems like he just has 1 9-hole stretch a week where he just kind of turns his brain off and makes like 3 or 4 bogeys when he probably shouldn't be, and just kind of ends up in the top 10 instead of winning. Kisner, obviously, ton of success at this event. He's the guy you don't want to play a match play because he puts the shit out of the ball. He doesn't give any holes away. He doesn't hit it odd at play ever. Like, it's just solid iron player, always going to put the pressure on you, makes a lot of putts, and it's a shorter course, so like his distance isn't really a factor. It's not really hurting him here at all. And then Leash is just one of the most consistent, like, short game wizard, like, just really super talented golfer for the last 10 years, honestly. So like, none of those guys are guys you really want to play. So that group stands out to me of one, like, hey, if I could follow a pod around all weekend, because I think, and I could be wrong with this, but I think like their pods go like back to back. So like JT and Luke List will be in a match, and then Kiz and Leash will be right behind them or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'd love to kind of position myself between that and watch a lot of like really good iron shots come in from those guys. And like Luke List hits the shit out of the ball. He'd be a lot of fun to watch too. Like, that's a pod that jumps off the page for me. But how about yourself?
Yeah. So I got a couple, ones that I would consider that I think are just so bad I might be interested in watching them. I'll give you those 2 first, and then maybe I'll give you, my good one, and then maybe give you the opportunity to do that as well. But the 2 ones, Jordan Spieth, Adam Scott, Justin Rose, Keegan Bradley. And I think I said it before we started recording. If this was 2012, 2013, we got 2 newly minted major champions.
Yep.
Jordan Spieth on his way to being, a year and a half, 2 years before one of the greatest stretches in pro golf. And then Adam Scott, consistently a top 25, 30 player for 20 plus years at this point.
And Justin Rose, no slouch.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Pretty close to his U.S. Open win, right?
Yeah, 2013 was his Open win.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Keegan Bradley won the PGA in 2012.
Yeah.
So like that, like that would have been a fun group. The most random group of the entire thing, DeChambeau, Taylor Gooch, Lee Westwood, Richard Bland. I mean,
Bryson and Blandy out of the gates too. Like, what a ball striking difference that's going to be. That's one, like, you said, so bad you got to watch that match just to see how they dissect that golf course.
I mean, we haven't seen Bryson in a couple months almost. So, interested to see what he looks like. And I just think like if Taylor Gooch shows up this week and has a shell of his golf game, he probably wins that group pretty easily. But I'd say the one I'm looking most into, I think the Scotty Scheffler, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, Ian Poulter one is pretty interesting. Scotty Scheffler, could be on that list of who we just talked about as, the best players in the world this last few months. Matt Fitzpatrick, good week last week at Valspar after not playing on the PGA Tour really at all this year. Fleetwood's kind of finding his footing a bit.
Good players for him.
Good players for him. Kind of just settling in a little bit. I think got his Masters invite. A couple things, just kind of like just finding a little consistency. And then Ian Poulter has been one of the best match play players, in Ryder Cup history. So you can't look past him. And I think too, like he's impressed me over the years because I've been waiting for 5-6 years for him to fall off the planet
He almost did, but he's been really solid since he
when he almost lost his card and then
4 years
redid
ago.
The points. Yeah,
4 years ago, and then he won the Shell Houston or something like that to kind of re-solidify himself. But then to your point, he's been super solid. Other than that, I mean, he's not like winning or anything like that, but like makes a shit ton of cuts, and he's kind of entering like journeyman status on the PGA Tour of just being out here forever. I mean, it's to your point. I loved that group too, just of the whole Ryder Cup aspect to it. Like Scotty Scheffler being one of the underspoken like MVPs of this past US team, and there's probably 7 of them because they've all played so well. But like goes down, takes out John Rahm in singles, and tied him another day. Like Scheffler had an awesome week at that, and then to have Fleetwood, Fitzpatrick, Poulter, all Euro guys that didn't have the best weeks this year, especially. There's like a little extra to that. I think behind the scenes, I'm sure Matt and Tommy and Poulter are like saying like, hey, let's try to make it so it's one of us coming down the stretch on Friday night or whenever they make kind of the cut or whatever out of group play. I'm sure they're kind of like, hey, let's beat this guy. He got the best of us in September. Let's work. Let's make sure we give it our best to try to take him down this week. But there's it's interesting groups, to your point. I mean,
any uninspiring groups?
I got one that I really truly don't think I'm going to watch any of it. And mostly because Tony Finau has been awful this year. So I just kind of think I think there's other groups I'd rather watch than him try to figure it out this week. But him, Xander, Takumi Kanaya, and like Lucas Herbert, like, I don't know. I mean, unless Finau kind of rises from the dead here, that group, it seems like Xander's going to win each of those matches like left-handed. And then another one that it's more that I just don't like enjoy watching the guys play is like Alex Noren and Paul Casey. I don't care to watch them play. And then like Louis and Corey Connors, like they are just so stoic on the golf course. Like I don't think there's going to be any fun had in that group. Like it's just going to be like Paul Casey kind of bitching his way around and like Corey Connors just not saying a word and just like flushing it everywhere and kind of putting like shit. And, like I just don't see the morale that high in that group. I think there's like good golf to be played there, but I don't see it being all that exciting or like that energizing to watch. So I'm going to channel my resources elsewhere for that one. But yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the most exciting thing in that group might be the Alex Noren pre-shot routine. Like that could be, that could be the best one out there. But let's kind of wrap this piece up as far as who's your final four and who gets it done in the end.
Let's see. I gotta you go first because I gotta pull up the actual bracket because I just have like the page by page thing, so it's not a bracket for me.
Yeah. So to your point, I think that Schauffele group is like no good at all. That I think Xander has struggled a bit this year. Played okay at Valspar last week. Played decent. I think he had a T3 at Waste Management. Just like hasn't really done a whole lot. I mean, we say that, but he won a gold medal last year too. So I think this might be like just a different enough week for him to find that footing and, kind of get himself back to where he needs to be. He shows up in big time events. We've talked about it before, whether it be in majors or WGCs. And I think my final four, kind of going from left to right, at Shane Lowry battling Billy Horschel in one side, and then Xander going against Victor Hovland. It was really tough not to have Justin Thomas there in the top four. I think we said it before, is playing spectacular golf and seems to just be in such tremendous control of his golf ball and making putts. And I think him and Bones have kind of found a partnership that I'm expecting to produce some majors over the next couple of years. But and kind of from that top four, I'm going to say Xander gets it done against Shane Lowry, who's had a really underrated year. Had a really good Florida swing. Think he's in good company right now, in good form. So Xander's going to get it done this week and get off the schneid a little bit. But were you able to work through that? You got any ideas?
I just know that I like the Xander pick a lot. I think he's just he's just due to, like, to your point, like really just solidify himself on PGA Tour. He's always played super good, just never really gotten like the big win. Never like, I don't know. We've kind of just been waiting on that. It feels like forever. I just think that, like, Rahm also, I think, has like a cakewalk of a group. Like Cameron Young maybe can kind of like, he's kind of fearless. Like he might be able to, like, if Rahm kind of sleeps on that one, he could go out and kind of catch him off guard maybe. But I just think Rahm works his way through that group pretty easily. And like, he's, as much as he hasn't won anything, like this could be a week where it's just like he's going to be playing such good golf that he's not, like, he never gives holes away, right? Like, if anything, he doesn't make any putts, but like, it's going to be one of those things where you're just going to see him hit a fairway, hit a green to 15 feet, like all day, and kind of wear people down. And if he gets any kind of hot streak going with the putter, I think it's like no brainer for him. I also I love Hovland too. I don't know if that can both work depending on where they land on the bracket.
Yeah, they're on opposite sides of the bracket, so they can meet in the finals.
I think Hovland is just, I think he just like can close his eyes and just ball strike his way around anywhere right now. So, get him a little bit of freedom to, like, again, I think the match play thing might help him, where with like his chipping struggles, like he can kind of erase it real quick and just move on. If he hits a bad chip, whatever, like, like I don't have to worry about now two putting it. It's like, if I don't make that one, whatever, I made a bogey, let's not look further into it and like keep going. And then other than that, I think a guy like, nope, I'm gonna take that back. Now I'm gonna say it. I think again, if this works bracket wise, like JT, he's just on a heater right now. I'm gonna ride that hot hand to get in the final four. I don't think he gets it done. Yeah. I think he might run out of gas with all the golf he's been playing lately, and it's a lot of golf this week too if you're gonna make it to the finals. So I don't think he would be able to get by a Rahm or a Hovland. I'm taking like the three best players in the world. So, and then I think, the underdog guy that might make kind of a run at it, like I could see like Keegan Bradley like making a little noise this week. He's been playing super solid, like played good at the Players, kind of puked the last couple holes to like finish like 13th instead of second there. But like his groups, like Justin Rose, I think stinks. Like Adam Scott, I don't know with him. Like he just seems kind of like out there. Like he shows flashes of it, but it's not consistent anymore. And I have no idea what to expect from Jordan Spieth. I mean, he could burn it down and win, or like complete no show. He's kind of a mystery to me this year. I think
I would just worry that he hits a couple balls out of bounds and just like flat out doesn't play a hole.
Yeah.
Not like,
to your point earlier, like fucks up your whole rhythm to your whole day, gets you so out of sorts, and then you got issues.
Yeah. I mean, the way that kind of sets up, JT and Hovland would meet in the round of 8. That kind of bottom right part of the bracket is pretty loaded. Joaquin Niemann's playing really good golf. We could get Joaquin Niemann, Victor Hovland in the second, in the first like non-group stage setup, which is pretty good.
It's a good matchup.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it should be a fun week. Interested to see. Yeah, to your point, does JT have a little bit like? Is he maybe play some good golf this week and then not overexert himself, because we have like a hell of a stretch coming up here, and you got to think he's one of the favorites at Augusta. So maybe he's just here to play some good golf and kind of find some form and move it in, because we got ourselves a nice stretch and looking forward to it. But definitely going to watch some of this coupled with some college basketball. It is a weekend filled with lots of good entertainment. I can tell you that.
Absolutely. And I also love this week starts on a Wednesday. A little bonus golf on a Wednesday, just to like, because with competing with basketball, I mean, you're gonna lose a lot of, like, it's gonna be hard to watch golf if it's not like kind of big names come Saturday, Sunday against the Sweet 16 of March Madness. So I appreciate the Wednesday golf to just be able to, get a little bonus viewing in, get the ESPN Plus membership going, and watch a few, just see the full field and see what people got. We're getting close to Augusta time, so it's time
everyone's
to like
trying to find form.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's searching.
Yeah, this is like the buckle down stage of the PGA Tour season, where it's like, I think it's like 16, 17 days to the beginning of Augusta week. So it's like, this is like, nobody's kind of going through the motions right now and trying to like, nobody's starting anything new, right? Nobody's trying anything anymore. Now it's like, we need to lock in whatever we got and like figure out what it is and be ready to go in 2 weeks. So it's an exciting time to watch golf. It's an exciting time for all sports in general, to your point. And I'm looking forward to it. I love the match play, like we talked about before. And again, it's like one of the best tournaments of the year that's not a major. And I'm pulling for my guys. I want Hovland to like get a WGC. I would love to see Schauffele when I always root for him. But we'll see.
Yeah. Look, that's my pick, Xander Schauffele. I appreciate you supporting my guys. Listeners out there, join the bracket challenge, free merchandise, got some golf balls going on. We'll make sure we're on the social, hitting that hard this week and kind of ensuring that everyone knows that it is a Wednesday start. So things got to get in, like first thing Wednesday morning, if not Tuesday night. So we will get this thing posted to YouTube sooner rather than later, and hopefully on Spotify ASAP. But Matthew, good chatting with you. Looking forward to a fun weekend of basketball and golf, and we'll be in touch, my friend.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers.